to work across Flint River Bridge, 100 yards from the spot where me and Grandpa fished. There's a piece of his old fruit stand on the side of Sawmill Road. He'd be there picking peaches if it was 20 years ago. What I wouldn't give to ride around in that old truck with him.
Hey everyone, this is the Danger Murder Man. I was originally known as the Mitchell Madman at one time. I come with a new video. Since my microphone is not working at my house, I'm using my brother's. Well, let's kick this off. I am going to read a speech. Let's see here. Google. Yes, I am smoking. I don't care what y'all say. Or I don't know what I'm reading really. I'm just picking something. It might be just history in general. Let's see. Oh crap! What's going on? Oh man, it's being slow. Okay. It's being slow as crap. Here we are. I will be trying to speak German, kind of like the Stalinator, formerly known as Joseph E. Stalin. He speaks Russian at the beginning of his videos. So I'm gonna try and see if I can do German for y'all, since I'm not really into the Soviet Union, but I was perfect at the Nazi Germany history. That was pretty good. But alright. Nazi Germany was also known as the Third Reich. It is the common name for Germany when it is toleration state, ruled by Adolf Hitler and his National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as NSDAP. On the 30th of January 1933, Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany, quickly eliminating all oppositions to the rule as sole leader and the state idolization Hitler as its Führer, also known as the leader, centralizing all powers in his hands. Historians have emphasized the hypnotic effect of his rhetoric on large audiences and his eyes in small groups. What's his name? Kaeso writes, overwhelming Germans speak with mystification of Hitler's hypnotic appeal. Under the leader's principle, the Führer's words were above all other laws. Top officials reported to Hitler and followed his policies, but had considerable anatomy. The government was not a coordinated, cooperating body, but rather a collection of factions struggling to amass power and gain favor with the Führer. In the midst of the Great Depression, the Nazi government restored prosperity and ended massive unemployment using heavy military spending and a mixed economy of free market and central planning practices. Extensive public works were undertaken, including the construction of automobiles. The return to the prosperity gave the regime enormous popularity. The suppression of all opposition made Hitler rule mostly unchallenged. Now, if you see that Hitler, anybody that, it's kind of like us. Back during the Great Depression, we were taking FDR. He came up with a New Deal. It brought us out of the Great Depression, and it brought us way, way, way out of masses. We were trying so hard to bring so much of no unemployment, which we are looking for today. We need to find a way how to get unemployment out of the way. So we have to raise the employment, whether being unemployed. Alright, continuing. Racism, especially anti-Semitism, was a main tenet of society of Nazi Germany. The Gestapo, the secret state police, and the SS under Heinrich Himmler destroyed the liberal, socialist, and communist opposition, and the persecuted and the murdered Jews, other undesirables. It was believed that the German people, who were also referred to as the neurotic race, which is pretty much the Aryan race, were the purest and representation of the Aryan race, and were therefore the master race. Education focused on racial biology, population policy, and physical fitness. Membership in the Hitler Youth organization became original. Oh, a minute. Give me 1 minute. Alrighty. Where was I? The number of women enrolled in the post-secondary education plummeted, and the career opportunities were curtailed. Calling women's rights a product of Jewish intellect, the Nazis practiced what they called emancipation from emancipation. Entertainment and tourism was organized via the Strength for Joy program. The government controlled artistic expression, promoting the specific forms of art and discouraging or banning others. This would be called with propaganda. The Nazis, they use propaganda to show that sometimes they've used, like during the wartime, you'll see a German sitting there going, come join the German army, we'll fight on the other people that don't believe in our Aryan race, or they'll put up disgusting pictures of how to treat Jews and all that. All this was out of the proportion with Nazi Germany. Germany was so isolated by themselves on this situation, but they were not alone also. Alright, where was I at? The Nazis mounted the infamous Insurrection. Degenerating Art expedition in 1937. Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels made effective use of film, mass relays, and Hitler's hibernating organity to control public opinion. The 1936 Summer Olympics showcased the Third Reich on the international stage. Germany made increasingly aggressive demands, threatening war if they were not met. Britain and France responded with appeasement, hoping Hitler would finally be satisfied. Austria was annexed in 1938, and the Sudetenland was taken via the Munich Agreement in 1938, with the rest of Czechoslovakia taken in 1939. Hitler made a pact with Joseph Stalin and invaded Poland in 1939, starting World War II. In alliance with Benito Mussolini in Italy, Germany conquered France and most of Europe by 1940, and threatened its remaining major foe, Great Britain. Let me just stop here for a minute. See that Hitler made a proposition with Joseph Stalin of Russia, Benito Mussolini of Italy, but we have yet to come across Japan. In 1942, they signed an agreement with Japan being part of the Axis powers. If you've noticed, Japan wanted a major country. Italy wanted to create Rome, the Roman Empire again. Hitler wanted to come up against for his Aryan race. But then you got also Russia, which also broke away from the pact when Hitler invaded Russia. But you got to think about this. Russia also wanted a dominant force because they were known as the Soviet Union, which the Soviet Union came apart during World War I. Alright, continuing, where are we at? The Reich commenced to take brutal control of conquered areas, and a German administration termed the General Government was established in Poland. Concentration camps establishing as early as 1933 were used to hold political prisoners and opponents of the regime. The numbers of camps quadrupled between 1939 and 1942 to 300 as slave laborers from across Europe. Jews, political prisoners, criminals, homosexuals, gypsies, the mentally ill, and others were imprisoned. The system that began as an instrument of political opposition, humiliated and mass genocide of the Jews and other minorities in the Holocaust. And if you stop for a minute with the Holocaust was dealing with, like I said, the Jews, the political prisoners, the criminals, the homosexuals, and the gypsies. They were being murdered. I mean, there were over 6 million Jews killed during the Holocaust. It was way out of proportion with Hitler, which Hitler was a Jew himself. Continuing, following the German invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, the tide turned against the Third Reich, and the major military defeats of the Battle of Stalingrad, the Battle of Kursk, in 1943. The Soviet counterattacks became the largest in the land battles in history. Large-scale, systematic bombing of all major German cities, rail lines, and oil plants escalated in 1944, shutting down the Lafayette, the German Air Force. Germany was overrun in 1945 by the Soviets from the east and the Allies from the west. The victorious Allies intended a policy of disinformation and put the Nazi leadership on trial war crimes of the Nuremberg trials. Alright, there should be more on this. We are going to start from how far are we going to go with this? Background. How about we just start from crap? No, not my crap. No. Remilitarizing of the Rhineland. I'm going to talk about that for a minute. I done spoke to you about what it's on the computer. I'm going to talk from you right here of the remilitarization of the Rhineland. Germany pulled out of the League of Nations in 1933. This move was one of Hitler's first attempts to systematically undermining and notifying the provision of the Versailles Treaty. Hitler justified leaving the League of Nations on the grounds that the disagreement clauses were designed and implemented only to Germany, an unfair exclusion in January 1935. The Saarland voted to become part of Germany. The region had been placed under the League of Nations supervision for 15 years, and the decision was greeted as a great victory for the new Germany. I'm kind of thirsty here, so if you see me lick my lips, please don't make fun of me, please. Alright, in March 1935, Hitler announced that the Reichswehrmann would be increased to 550,000 men, which is, they're talking about their military. The Reichswehrmann, they're talking about their military. And that there would be a German Air Force. They didn't have an Air Force before the war. After the war ended, I mean. They had ground forces after the World War I. But they didn't have an Air Force after. So they decided to become another German Air Force, which they called the Lafayette. When Britain agreed that the Germans would be allowed to build a naval fleet, the treaty became little more than a piece of paper. The signs were ready in the name of peace to negotiate away on a brutality basis the terms of Germany had agreed in 1919, which is the Treaty of Versailles. But Hitler's next attempts to undermine the Versailles Treaty came in March 1936. Italian dictator Mussolini, Hitler's colleague, and at the time an object of administration, invaded Ethiopia, leading to the mid-protest by the British and French governments. See, there was a story about Ethiopia I learned in high school back in 10th grade. Ethiopia was the hardest country to invade and attack and just take it. The Romans tried it several times, but the Ethiopians pushed them back out. But before World War II started, Ethiopia was taken like that because of Mussolini's fascist military that was helped by Hitler. In the wake of the crisis, Hitler ordered the Reichswehrmann to march into the demilitarized zone in the Rhineland, with the proviso that they should withdraw if the French mobilized in response. See, the Germans would have withdrew from the Rhineland if the French would have mobilized. The French weren't thinking. They thought, oh, they got into the Rhineland, we must run away. If you would have mobilized, they would have got the heck out of there. The French government was in its usual state of internal bickering, and Britain had no interest in stopping them. There was anything they could have done for the French military strategy was dictated by the existence of the Magnet Line. behind which their army was to remain, come what may, and the British politicians regarded the Rhineland as Germany's own backyard. Hitler then held an election in which he received an overwhelming vote of support and re-election as a vigorous and determined leader of the growing fascists. The following year was relatively quiet on the foreign affairs front. The Spanish Civil War occurred, and the headlines in Europe, which was a useful trial ground for the growing Lafayette German Air Force. Okay, you've heard about that was the remilitarization of the Rhineland. How about we go over the outbreak of the war, which was pretty much the invasion of Poland. Oh man, my back. Give me 1 sec while I go get me a drink. Good. Let me check something real quick. Make sure everything is still operational. Okay. We were going to be talking about the outbreak of the war. The Danzig crisis peaked in the early 1939, around the time that reports of a controversy in the Free City of Danzig increased. The United Kingdom guaranteed to defend Poland's territorial integrity, and the Poles rejected a series of affairs by the Nazi Germany regarding both the Free City of Danzig and the Polish Condor. Taking you back to World War I for a minute, turn it back a little bit. After World War I, Germany lost Danzig and the Polish Condor, dealing with the Treaty of Versailles. It was kind of talking about they couldn't have a military, they had lost land, they had to repay France for everything. Well, with Hitler, he brought Germany out of the unemployment, he regrew the military, and he was feared by all. So then the Germans broke off diplomatic relations. Hitler had learned that the Soviet Union was willing to sign a non-aggressive pact, and Germany and the world support an attack on Poland. Germany invaded Poland on September the 1st, 1939, and 2 days later the United Kingdom and France declared war on Germany. World War II was underway, but Poland fell quickly as the Soviets attacked it on September 17th, and the United Kingdom proceeded to bomb Wilhelmshaven, I think that's how you say it, Cuxhaven, and Hagenglanden. I don't know how to say the word pretty good. In other areas. Still aside from the battles at the sea, and no other activity occurred. Thus, the war began, known as the Phony War. Oh. I still have to understand why they would call it the Phony War. Maybe dealing with a lot of politics, I don't know. The year of 1940 began with little more than the UK dropping propaganda leaflets over Prague and Vienna, but German attacks on the British High Sea Fleet was followed by the British bombings of the port cities of Siecht. After the the Altmark incident off the coast of Norway and the discovery of the United Kingdom's plans to encircle Germany, Hitler sent troops into Denmark and Norway. This safeguarded the iron ore supplies in Sweden through the coastal waters. Shortly thereafter, the British and French landed in the mid and North Norway, but the Germans de facto defeated. There we go. I was looking for the words. These forces in the ensuring Norwegian campaign. That's pretty much the beginning of the war. You're probably thinking, oh, this is all in Europe and all that. But get this. In May of 1940, the phony war ended. Against the judgment of his advisors, Hitler ordered an attack on France through the Low Countries. Of the Battle of France ended with an overwhelming German victory. However, with the rewind. However, with the British refusing Hitler's offer of peace, the war continued. Germany and Britain continued to fight at sea and in the air. The British bombed Berlin. The German leader ordered the attacks on British cities. The Brits was ordered heavily during the Blitz. The Blitz was a series of bombings on London, all over Great Britain, from the German bombers and the Le Lafayette. This change in targeting priority interfered with the Lafayette's objective of achieving the air superiority over Britain necessary for an invasion, allowed the British air defenses to rebuild their strength and continue the fight. The Germans lost the Battle of Britain in the fall of 1940, but then turned to planning the invasion of the Soviet Union in Operation Barbarossa in June of 1941. Germany and its allies invading the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941. Hitler hoped that a rapid success in the Soviet Union would bring to the negotiating table. See, they thought if they can attack Russia, that they would have a powerful army to make everyone fear them. So, hold on a minute. Now, we're going to be talking about Operation Barbarossa. Operation Barbarossa was supposed to begin earlier. However, failed Italian ventures in North Africa and the Balkans caused Hitler concerned. In February of 1941, the German Africa Corps was sent to Libya to aid the Italians to hold the British Commonwealth forces from the British-held Egypt. As the North African campaign continued, the Africa Corps regained lost Italian territory, pushed the British back across the desert, and advanced into Egypt. In April, the Germans launched the invasion of Yugoslavia to aid friendly forces and restore control in the Balkans. This was followed by the Battle of Greece, again to bail out the Italians, and the Battle of Crete. Because of the division of the North Africa and the Balkans, the Germans were not able to launch Barbarossa until late in June. Moreover, men and material were diverted to create the fortified Europe that Hitler wanted before Germany focused its attention on the East. So you see that they wanted to go ahead and attack the Soviet Union, but also they wanted to get done with fortifying Europe before somebody tried to invade, America, and Britain out there around Caen, France. Okay. Nonetheless, Barbarossa began with a great success. Only Hitler worried that the German army and its allies were not advancing into Soviet Union fast enough. By December of 1941, the Germans and their allies were at the gates of Moscow. To the north, troops had reached Leningrad and surrounded the city. Meanwhile, Germany and its allies controlled almost the mainland of Europe, and the exception of the neutral Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, Sweden, and Turkey. How do you like that? I guess I was wrong on something here. On December 11, 1941, 4 days after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Nazi Germany declared war on the United States. Not only was the chance for Germany to strengthen its ties with Japan, but after the months of anti-Germany hysteria and the American media and Lend-Lease aid to Britain. The leaking of the Rainbow 5, I think it was, and the forbidding content of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Pearl Harbor speech. Excuse me. Hitler concluded that the U.S. could not be kept neutral. Moreover, Germany's policy of appeasement, designed to keep the U.S. out of the war, was a burden on Germany's war effort. Germany had refrained from attacking American convoys, even if they were bound for the United Kingdom or the Soviet Union. By contrast, after Germany declared war on the U.S., the German Navy began unrestricted submarine warfare, using U-boats to attack ships without warning. Well, that's all I got for today. If you want to know anything more about World War II or Nazi Germany, just tell me. Next time I get on here, I'm going to probably do something for either the Soviet Union, the Confederate Army, or just give me some ideas. What country do you want to learn about? What era? What anything. Whether it be the Chinese, whether it be the Japanese, whether it be the Indonesia, anything. And just type it down, put it down, the name of the country, what year, what was so significant. Ask me some questions that you want me to answer for you, and I'll put up a video about that. Or if you don't want me to put up a video, just tell me, and I'll send it to you on your, as a video response to your comment. Just tell me, and I'll get back to you with it. Anyways, this is the Danger Mutter Man. I'm out. Y'all have a good day today.